food sanitation and food safety. Okay, I would like to share about CV ya. Mbak Sri bisa dibantu untuk share CV-nya?
Ya, sekedar.
Sudah, Mbak?
Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bisa ditayangkan, Mbak Sri? Belum ya? Oke, saya bacakan aja sementara ini. Ya, Associate Professor Dr. Zaliza binti Muhammad Elias. She is a philosophy doctor in community health and also her educational background. She's a Master of Science in Environmental Health from University Putra Malaysia and also Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Community Health. About her teaching subjects, she is a lecturer in health research methodology, principle of environmental health, environmental and occupational health biostatistics, control and management of non-infectious diseases, environmental health monitoring and analysis, and final year project, seminar, and also environmental and occupational health research methodology. Achievement such as she's achieved total research grant 386.700 ringgit Malaysia, and also total community grant publication 40 journals and 5 books, supervision 6 PhD student, Master of Science, and also Bachelor degree. And she's also head of Academic Quality Assurance Unit from 2025 until 2026. And she's also head of Environmental Health Unit, Department of Environmental and Occupational Health, Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences, UPM, from 2020 until 2021. She's also program coordinator for Bachelor of Science. Yeah, I think she's very much experience in environmental health, community health, contamination, heavy metals, microplastic, and used cooking oils. Also had risk assessment. Okay, please welcome Dr. Salisa to deliver your lecture materials. Time is yours.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. And I would like to thank UNJIP and also the Environmental Health, the Department of Environmental Health and Public Health Faculty of Universitas Diponegoro for inviting me to this prestigious guest lecture program for students of Indeed. And first, let me share the screen first. Okay, can everybody see my slide?
Yeah, but your volume, could you speak louder or higher volume?
Hold on, yeah.
Okay.
What about now?
Yeah, it's
Can you
okay.
hear? Okay, so the slide is visible. Okay, is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much again for inviting me to share my little knowledge here on the topic that been given to me. So okay, yeah, so today I'm going to talk about food contamination and the health implication, and focusing into major pollutants, and we are discussing today is about its contamination in food. Okay, so we are going to discuss about microplastics and heavy metals. So I've divided the slides into two sections. The first one would be microplastics and the second one would be heavy metals. And for the heavy metals, I am focusing into four, the most toxic heavy metals in history for now, which is mercury, lead, cadmium, and arsenic. Okay, so yeah, so if everybody's okay, so let's start with the first contaminant, which is microplastic. And just such introduction, yeah, this would be the topics that I'm going to little bit introduction, and then we are going to see how the situation globally and in Southeast Asia, especially where we're situated. And then the implication of microplastic pollution to the environment and also to human health. Followed by microplastic contamination in the food chain, examples of some foods that are being detected containing microplastic. The health effects and how to control microplastic contamination in the food. Okay, so let's begin with plastic contamination. Okay, so if we look around us today, I believe we can name so many things made from plastic. The one that we use daily, the one that we wear daily, mostly contain plastic. So yeah, just look around. We have our drinking bottle, we have our computer made from partly plastic, we have food container made from plastic, and even our clothing, yeah, might or might not, yeah, might also contain plastic. And why plastic is so worldwide used nowadays? Yeah, it is due to it's strong. It's very strong. It's very usable. It's light, it's durable, and most importantly, I think it is cheap. Yeah, and nowadays, the range of plastic usage, is very wide. But we cannot deny that plastic is very useful. Yeah, and we are it daily. But one major negative impact of so many plastic in our environment today is that it requires a long time to degrade. Yeah, it's up to 500 years, to fully degrade, depends on the type of the plastic. So it contributes to significant environmental and health issues due to its durability and resistance to degradation. Yeah, it is very useful, but it is also very difficult to be degraded, and it can stay very long in the environment, and that becomes the problem to the environment and our health. Okay, so let's see the current situation about plastic pollution. Yeah, let's see the global situation. Yeah, I think this is a global problem, plastic pollution. Projected about 34 billion tons of worldwide plastic production by 2050. This was predicted in 2020. Yeah, already in 2050, we will have about 34 billion tons of plastic production. Yeah, and yeah, when it is produced vastly, when it is produced in a bulk quantity, so just imagine the waste, that will follow after that. And about 9,200 million tons of plastic have accumulated in the environment currently. Yeah, and this was reported in 2021. Now it's 2025. I strongly believe that the quantity has been increased, since. About 4.8 to 12.7 million metric tons of plastic entered the ocean annually. From that amount, and a big portion of this plastic entered our ocean annually. And we are living in the region where we are surrounded by sea. Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, the Southeast Asia countries, we are surrounded by sea, and our sea are becoming polluted with plastic. Okay, so follow that issue, 75% of marine debris are plastics, which endangered almost 800 marine species. Okay, so when there are so many plastic already in the ocean, it will endanger the marine species, and after that it will be human, because we are the top consumer in the chain, and in 2020, there was a report estimated that human ingested up to 100,000 fine debris of plastic daily. Okay, so this quantity, 100,000 fine debris, fraction of plastic daily. So if we can put together all those plastic here, it is equal to one credit card, that we ingested. Okay, so just to show how seriously, the situation of plastic contamination, and it also already entered our body. Okay, so I continue with the situation, the current situation in our region, the Southeast Asia. Okay, so Southeast Asia's countries produce over 1.5 million metric tons of mismanaged plastics annually. And this was reported in 2015, almost 10 years ago. Okay, 1.5 million metric tons, mismanaged plastic annually. Okay, and we are the country named after those mismanaged plastic. Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia are the top 5 countries for the production of large municipal solid waste at 1.14 kilogram per capita per day worldwide. Okay, so it was said that we are among the top contributors of plastic pollution. And during COVID-19 pandemic, we have about 2 years, living in a COVID era. Okay, so we stayed indoor mostly, and we use face masks, to protect ourselves from contamination. Okay, and during those time, there was increased use of single-use plastic and medical. Okay, so we can understand that it is due to a situation where we had the need to cover ourselves, to protect ourselves, and we are using face masks mostly. An estimated about 14 million tons of plastic waste enters the ocean annually from Southeast Asia alone. Okay, so the microplastic pollution in Southeast Asia. Okay, our region, the Southeast Asia, accounts for a significant proportion of global microplastic pollution, ascribed to the abundance of mangrove, seagrass, and coral habitats, coastal and shallow waters that lead to plastic accumulation by snagging. So our geography, our environment, consists of all those mangroves and coral habitats where plastic can easily accumulate it, and this cause one of the cause of the pollution, plastic pollution in the ocean. Microplastics are found in beach sediments, in sea waters, and also in marine biota. Okay, so when it is already in the sea, and the next pathway would be inside the media, including the sediment, and also the marine life. The concentration of microplastic in the seawater of Southeast Asia regions range from 0.13 to 11,100 pieces per liter. From the lowest up to the highest concentration per liter, which is comparable to the figures recorded in the Arctic Ocean and Santa Monica Bay, in the Western world. Okay, so that was a bit about the situation globally and also in our region. Okay, and then next I will go to the characteristic of the microplastic itself. Okay, so we start with the type of microplastic. Okay, so microplastic, the tiny plastics. If we can look under the microscope, it will have different shapes, and sizes. So these show on the screen the types of microplastic. It can be found in fragments, serpihan, cibisan, in fragment with colors. It depends on the original product of the plastic. Okay, and it also can be found in the pellet type of pellet type. Also, it can be found in the form of film, in the form of foam, and also fiber. Okay, these are among the common type of microplastic found in the environment. This was determined by previous studies on microplastic. Okay, so discussing about sizes, microplastic are those tiny plastic smaller than 1 micrometer. And that is defined as microplastic. Okay, so if we here, this plastic pollutant can range between 1 meter to as small as nanoplastic, less than 0.01 micrometer in size, and it is already exists in the environment. Okay, so for the big size plastic debris, such as type of plastic waste from fishing nets or plastic drums, these we call it megaplastic. The size bigger than 1 meter or more than 10 millimeter, we call it microplastic. And if we look into the type of marine biota adversely affected, mostly the big animal, like the okra, like the dolphin, okay, those are the ocean creature, the animals, which would be adversely affected by this type of plastic. Okay, for microplastic, those plastic size between 2.5 centimeters up to 1 meter, they are smaller animal which might adversely affected, such as smaller than all those okra or the dolphin, okay, so we have seals, and smaller dolphins, big fish. Okay, so mesoplastic type of debris, which size between 5 millimeter to up to 2.5 centimeters. Okay, this can be originated from smaller plastic products such as our hair comb, and all those maybe cosmetic container, our glasses, our food containers. Okay, so these kinds of plastic might endanger, quite smaller animals, like those fish and birds. Okay, and for much smaller, more smaller microplastic debris, which we call it microplastic, this is our concern, our discussion today is about microplastic. Those plastic fragment which is range, the size range between 1 micron to 5 millimeter, Okay, so microbeads, we can find it, for example, from our facial scrub, especially facial scrub which made from plastic, not a natural ingredient. Okay, so smaller animals like the crab, lobster, smaller fish, would be affected. And there are even smaller size of plastic, which we call it nanoplastic. And nanoplastic size smaller than 0.01 micrometer, okay, or smaller than 1 micron, okay, and the type of animal might be affected would be those plankton and much smaller microorganisms. Okay, so this is what the plastic polluter can harm the sea organism, based on their sizes. Okay, so this is another categorization of plastic. So plastic, we can also divide it into primary and secondary microplastic. So primary microplastic would be all produced in size less than 5 millimeter. It is already made within that size. And this type of microplastic has been released to the environment either accidentally or by wastewater. For example, the pellets of microplastic and also microbeads, the one that I mentioned before. We can find it in our, if we are using facial scrub, which contain not natural ingredient. They put plastic microbeads. The microbeads put inside the scrub, and it will go into the environment in wastewater. From the bathroom that we wash ourselves, okay, and then it goes into the environment. That is primary microplastic. Those plastic which are produced in that kind of size, okay. And there are another type of microplastic which we call it secondary microplastic. Okay, so this type of microplastic originate from breakdown of larger products due to running of debris on shorelines and in the sea, or UV-induced brittleness and subsequent fragmentation of plastics, or from washing of synthetic textiles. Okay, secondary microplastic are those particles or those fragments of plastic which originate from bigger products. And it been degraded with time under direct sun or by our activity such as washing or dumping it into the landfill, and it become secondary microplastics. Okay, just to show you visually, maybe this will help us to understand more. Primary microplastics directly released into nature as small particles. It coming mainly from land activities. For example, cosmetics such as facial scrubs, car tires, or laundering of synthetic clothes. So our washing can be the major contributor of a primary microplastic, where synthetic clothes, the lint, that being trapped in the washing machine and then later released into the wastewater, that is part of the primary microplastic. And about 19 to 31% of microplastics in the ocean are from this category, the primary microplastic. And for the secondary microplastic, the one that originate from large pieces of plastic that fragment into smaller pieces in nature, for example, bottles, bags, and fishing nets. With time, it will degrade to smaller particles. Okay, that is secondary microplastic. And this kind of microplastic contribute about 69 to 81% of microplastics in the ocean. Okay, so we can see they are more secondary microplastic types in the environment. The one which degraded from larger pieces of plastic. Okay. Okay, so this is the same explanation as I mentioned before, type of microplastic. Okay, so next would be the sources of microplastic. Where those microplastic come from? And this was reviewed by Raghu Prasad in 2000 in their 2025 publication. Okay, so in this diagram, it shows the sources of microplastic, presented in infographic type, visual. So hopefully it will make us understand more clearly. Okay, so source of microplastics, it can come from our cosmetic, it can come from fishing nets and waste. It also can originate from sewage treatment plant. Okay, not forgetting plastic manufacturing industry, textile industries, and also plastic bottles and bags. Okay, So we understand that the microplastic consists of two types, secondary and primary, but this would be the source of microplastic before it becomes secondary or primary microplastic polluter in the environment. Okay, so microplastic contamination is always being associated with the aquatic environment. So let's see how is actually this plastic can enter the water. Yeah. Okay. So this diagram showing how those plastic or microplastic which originated from the industries, it can being into our aquatic environment. Okay, so basically, if it is from the industry, it can enter the ocean or the water from industrial waste. Okay, and in the aquatic in the water, so it will degrade it into microplastic, and later it can be it can be settled in the sedimentation. Okay, so from there it will be taken up by the bottom animal feeder. Okay, like being shown in the diagram. Okay, for our personal care products, where we use it to clean ourselves. Okay, so from our home, it will go into the wastewater treatment plant maybe, or directly into the drain and ended up in the water, or either river or ocean. Will go the same process. It will be degraded into microplastic, and then it will be settled in the sedimentation. Okay. Same goes to washing clothing. The washing from washing activities and cleaning our clothing. Okay. Okay. So impact on wildlife. Okay. So those fish, will feed on might feed on this microplastic because they thought this would be their food source. Okay, and when it settled inside the aquatic organism, and being caught, and we human being, consume those fish and shellfish and the aquatic organism. So that's how this microplastic can ended up in our body. Okay, since we are the top predator, we are the top in the food chain system. Okay, so whatever being consumed by those fish and all the seashells, seafoods, will ended up into our body. Okay, so from this point on, I will review a few results from previous studies, which study about microplastic contamination in food sources. Okay, so the most common would be fish, because we can directly relate it with the ocean environment. Okay, so when the ocean become polluted, with plastics, okay, and those plastics being consumed by the fish, okay, and we would be at the high risk, to also consume those contaminants. Okay, so there are quite numbers. There are quite numbers of studies looking into the level of contamination, plastic contamination in fish sample. Okay, such as this one, a wide range of aquatic organisms can consume and accumulate microplastics. numerous marine organisms, including estuarine crustacean, udang-udangan, fish, intertidal shellfish, mussels, barnacle, lugworm, sea cucumber, amphipods, and seabirds have been shown to consume microplastic. Okay, so from animal in the sea, in the bottom of the sea or river up to the seabirds, have been shown to consume microplastic because they thought, they mistakenly thought that those plastic are food. So this microplastic can be fragmented in marine animals into even nanoplastic. So when in the environment, it will be degraded slowly, but surely, into smaller particles. Okay, and it can be degraded into up to the size of nanoplastic, very small. Okay, and this picture here shows example of the type of microplastic being found in the GI, gastrointestinal tract of common fish that we consume. Okay, so another study in other place, this study by Rohman, about 10 years ago, so they found 76 whole fish, which consists of 11 species, were obtained from a fish market in Indonesia and found that 28% of the fish contained plastic debris in the GI tract. They also studied 64 individual fish from 12 species, which purchased in California as comparison and found microplastics in 25% of them. Okay, so it means even though the study had been done in the different region, very far away apart, so they found the same problem, microplastic being detected in the GI of the fish commonly consumed. Okay, so microplastic was found in edible flesh of frequently consumed fish. Okay, so the first paragraph reported that microplastic debris was found in the GI tract of the fish. We might not consume the GI tract, the stomach of the fish, we always throw it away, we just consume the flesh of the fish. But there are also studies that found microplastic detected in the edible fish of frequently consumed fish, and an estimated of 446 pieces of microplastic ingested annually, reported by this
Any problem? Dr. Saliza? Halo? Oh, terputus ya? Oh iya, terputus. Bisa join lagi? Iya, terputus. Oke, baik. Mohon ditunggu, terputus koneksinya. Kalau ada yang kurang jelas atau ada yang mau ditanyakan, didiskusikan, bisa ditulis ya di chat box-nya. Bisa bahasa Indonesia, bahasa Inggris, bahasa Melayu, silahkan. Mohon bersabar, ini masih connecting lagi. Oke, alhamdulillah Dokter Salisa sudah join lagi. Belum? Oh, ini yang nge-share Mbak Sri ya?
Bukan Bu, dari sananya Ibu.
Oh, bisa, ya. Oke. Could you please continue?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear my voice?
Yeah, clear. It's clear.
So hopefully this would be the last time disconnected.
Yeah, amin.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue with this one. Okay. So the last slide would be this one, yeah. Microplastic detected in the stomach and flesh, edible flesh of the fish. Okay, so meaning that now we know where the source of plastic that we consume, yeah, it might come from the fish that we eat. Okay, so this is another example of study, yeah, about microplastic contamination in fish. So showing here is microplastic found in 9 out of 11 species of commercial marine fish from Malaysia. Yeah, so this was study done in Malaysia. 11 species of fish being analyzed. Yeah, and they analyzed the visceral and gills from 110 individual fish, and out of 56 particles found, they found 56 particles. Yeah, 76.8% were plastic polymer. Yeah, in the form of polymer. 5.4% pigments and 17.8% unknown. Yeah. So the particle size range from 200 to 34,900 micrometer. Yeah. And okay, so what type of fish, yeah, that they analyze? Okay, if you look at this fish name, yeah, we might get familiar with some, yeah, African catfish, yeah, ini ikan keli, iwak lele. Yeah, Delagon Stratfin Dream. Okay, so ox-eye scarred, yeah, torpedo scarred, yeah. So these are actually the common fish that we can find in our market, yeah. Ikan selar, ikan cincaru, yeah. Maybe you can check the local name, yeah, for it. Yeah. For example, Indian mackerel, this would be kembung, eh. Gerupa, ni ikan kerapu. Okay, I don't know what we call in Indonesia, yeah. But I think we can check. But I'm sure African catfish is lele. Okay, so look at the content, yeah, of microplastic found in the sample. Okay, in African catfish, yeah, reported the highest. Okay, followed by Indian mackerel, yeah, and kachima, yeah. Okay, so these are actually the common fish, yeah, consumed and available in our market. And it this kind of fish are normally consumed, yeah, because of the affordability of the price. Okay, so it was, yeah, um it was found that those types of fish being contaminated with microplastic. Okay, so other than fish, there are also other type of microorganism, yeah, which being contaminated with microplastic. For example, this clam, yeah, this mussel, the green mussel. Okay, so green mussels are actually freshwater, freshwater commodity. Yeah. So how does those type of food source being contaminated with microplastic? It is because internal organs and bones of fish normally used as ingredient in farm organism, such as fish and livestock. So those microplastic contaminated ingredients will indirectly result in contamination in human, because those waste, or parts of fish that being contaminated, being processed into food for other organisms. Yeah, so if those source of food being contaminated with microplastic, so it goes into the food chain. Yeah, okay. So this is an example of green mussel. Yeah, this is quite a good bioindicator of environmental contamination. Yeah. Okay, they use green mussel because it basically it will absorb everything from the environment, basically. Okay, other than aquatic organism, microplastic contamination also being found in farm animal, yeah, such as livestock, yeah. Okay, so internal organ and bones of fish, yeah. So normally used in producing this livestock food, yeah. So the contamination continues, yeah, with this livestock. Okay, so other than livestock and animals, there are also other food being contaminated with microplastic. Yeah, for example, salt. Yeah, so this scientists analyzed that microplastic was also found in a biotic product of salt. Yeah, the table salt. Okay, and it also found in sugar. Yeah, both salt and sugars. The majority of microplastic appeared as fragments, as pieces, serpihan-serpihan plastik found in garam dan juga gula. Okay, so fragments are the majority, found in this type of food. A small portion were fibers, okay. So actually, there are also other type of food being analyzed, such as honey. There are reports also that microplastic also detected in those honey. Herbal food, those herbal medicine also reported being contaminated with microplastic. Okay, so where actually this kind of food, what would be the pathway of those kind of food being contaminated with microplastic? Okay, so it might come from the soil, where the plant being planted and growth. Okay, so this plant, for example, herbs or our vegetables, might be contaminated with microplastic from the polluted soil. Microplastic soil pollution is largely caused by the first would be the littering, plastic mulch films, and the use of sewage sludge as fertilizer. Okay, so we have heard about this, littering, sewage sludge used as fertilizer, for agriculture. So it has been discovered that microplastics in soil change its physicochemical characteristics. It prevents water from penetrating and lower microbial diversity and enzyme activity. So agricultural productivity and soil fertility may suffer because of such changes. Okay, so part of the microplastic or even smaller portion might be absorbed into the plant, but at the same time, it might also change the fertility of the soil, yeah, and it has some effect on the produce, yeah, on the crops, yeah, in terms of quantity and the quality of those vegetables or plants. Okay, so the explanation will be microplastic are absorbed and moved by crop plants like wheat and lettuce, indicating a direct pathway for human exposure through the food chain. Okay, so now we have seen evidence that fish being contaminated, yeah, seashell being contaminated, our livestock being contaminated, and also our vegetables, yeah, being contaminated with microplastic. Okay. Okay, so with the concern of pollution, yeah, in the environment and in our food, and we consume all those food, what would be the effect to the human health? Okay, so microplastics, yeah, can come from the background of plastic objects, yeah, okay, from clothing, from car tires, from cosmetic and food, and they have diverse shapes and encompass a suite of chemicals and biological constituents. Yeah? So microplastics can enter the human body through ingestion and inhalation, where they may be taken up in various organ health. Okay, so microplastic can enter our body from ingestion routes. It can also enter our body from inhalation route. Okay, when they are microplastic exist in the environment. Okay, so what would be the effect to our health? Okay, so the possible health effects might be DNA damage, yeah, cellular damage, inflammation to human. But until currently, yeah, the microplastic contamination in human, as compared to other biological samples such as animal and also soil or air or plant sample, yeah, studies on humans, yeah, still very limited. Okay, so example, yeah, it was reported only in 2021, yeah, about 7 years ago, in 2021, 5 years ago, yeah, an analysis of human feces, yeah, using Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy or FTIR, presented evidence that the gastrointestinal tract excreted the tiny plastic particles. Yeah, so they found microplastic particles in the feces. Yeah, meaning that it has gone through the body. Yeah, and is being excreted. Okay. Other FTR experiment by other researcher also discovered microplastic in human colectomy specimen. Yeah. And other study, yeah, found polypropylene particles, which is type of microplastic. Yeah. Size between 5 to 10 micrometer were identified in human placenta tissue. Yeah, using this Raman spectroscopy technique. So they use quite different techniques to detect microplastic in human body. And there are new development, yeah, in 2022, yeah, on microplastic determination and quantification, yeah, successfully done. Yeah, this is in Netherlands, which they found microplastic particles in human blood, yeah, for the first time. So it shows here that human human biomonitoring study field, yeah, indicates that plastic particles can in contact with human and are bioavailable in human body. So here are examples, of microplastic being detected in the human body, or it shows evidence that this microplastic once entered our body and being excreted out. Okay. Okay. So what would be the health effect again? So organs such as human lung, human lung tissue have been even been found to contain inhalable microplastic, including polypropylene and polyethylene terephthalate, suggesting that these particles can be profoundly absorbed and stored in the respiratory system. Another evidence that shows microplastic has entered the body. And there are concerns regarding long-term respiratory disorders like asthma, bronchitis, and possibly carcinogenesis, raised by microplastic fibers embedded in human lung tissue. Okay. Next would be microplastic can act as carriers of endocrine disrupting chemicals such as phthalates and bisphenol. Okay, the other concern is that microplastic, how it endangered human, is not the particle, or the physical plastic itself, but also what the plastic carried with it. For example, plastic is a plastic, it can be the carrier of endocrine disrupting chemicals. And these chemicals, there are also studies found that it can disturb hormonal function of the body. So microplastic not only the physical appearance of it might endanger human, but also the chemicals that it carries might also affect our human body function. Okay, so during absorption, microplastics may contain additional harmful substances, such as organic pollutants and heavy metals, which could have a negative impact on human health. Okay, so this is what I mentioned before, the chemicals compound that being carried along with the microplastic. Okay, so notably, microplastics were discovered in human ovarian follicular fluid in a recent study which raised questions about their potential effects on reproductive health. Okay, so now there are evidence it has been entered our body, it has been detected in lung tissue, and the most recent would be it has been detected in reproductive organ system. Okay. Then the question would be, how serious this microplastic can affect our health. So microplastics effects on humans are mainly based on animal studies and extrapolated to humans. That's for now. Because it is very difficult to test the toxicity or the adverse health effect of microplastic to be studied on live human. It is it might be a serious ethical concern regarding it. So the other choice that we have is to rely on animal studies, on microplastic, where those animals being fed by microplastic sample, and see what it affect, how it affect the animals, like the animal that is studied. Okay, so experimental research on rats fed with low density polyethylene microplastics confirm that hippocampal neurons, it is it's a neuron system in the brain, was significantly affected by microplastic particles in the blood, raising concern on similar effects to humans. Okay, so this study was done by Indonesian researcher in Punai. Yes, Sinkihu, Dr. Sinkihu. Okay, so that's what we know for now, yeah, about the health effect on human. Okay, so other than that, yeah, besides, microplastic may be present in additive forms such as BPAs, phthalates, heavy metals, and flame retardants. These chemicals may act as endocrine disrupting chemicals, the EDC, which are able to mimic the natural hormones and lead to pattern alteration and receptor expression modification. So EDCs are linked to several health problems, including reproductive problems, hormonal cancer, metabolic disorders, and neurodevelopmental diseases. Okay, so other than that, cytotoxicity risk in the human brain and epithelial cells were also found in several in vitro studies. So from time to time, we are looking forward into the updates on the health effects of microplastic. Yeah. Okay. So now we know that they are quite evidence that shows the effects on the human health due to microplastic contamination, and this microplastic contamination in human mostly originated from the ingestion routes, from our food sample. Okay, so how to control microplastic pollution? Yeah, so this is a big question, for us as individual. Yeah, so there are already many discussion, about how to control microplastic, pollution, which involve many layers, of the authority and also the society. So among all factors, perception is the main predictor of practice, where people with neutral perception having poor practice is almost 53 times greater, than the odds of people with positive perception. Okay, so this study shows, that perception is the main predictor of practice in preventing microplastic contamination in the human body. Yeah, and strengthening the public's perception on microplastic risk to humans may reinforce the reduction of microplastic abundance in the environment, which ultimately reduce the likelihood of exposure to human. So here it means that it is important for us to educate and really make people understand and perceive that plastic and microplastic are dangerous, and it shows significant health effects to human. With that, so hopefully the people will have high concern on to prevent the pollution, and that factor might be the main factor how we can control microplastic pollution. It starts with the human being, the perception, and then it will maybe affect the practice. Okay, so these are tips, on how we can live with less plastic, because how to control microplastic pollution is with stop, which is quite impossible for now, but at least less use of plastic, and less littering or introducing plastic into the environment. Okay, so these tips, these are all the tips that easily available online, in internet on how we can live with less plastic, and this is, I believe, is not new now. These are practice being campaigned, how we can reduce plastic usage in our daily activities, such as we bring our own shopping bags, Okay, carry reusable water bottle, yeah, meaning that to reduce throwing out, especially single-use plastic to the environment. Okay, and we are yet now, yeah, the concern might be how effective are the campaign, yeah, on this initiative or these tips, yeah, and all this education to the community. Okay, so okay, 9 ways you can reduce ocean plastic, yeah, boycott single-use plastic. Okay, so these are types of practice recommended for us to adopt in our daily life. Okay, so yeah, to end this first part of this lecture, yeah, maybe I would like to leave everybody with this question, yeah, something to ponder. How to apa pula terlindungi? How to modify human behavior? Yeah, so because we know the most difficult effort is to change, yeah, human behavior. So I think yeah, we can maybe think of it, yeah, how we as individuals, so at least, yeah, we can do our part, yeah, in making that campaign, yeah, possible. Okay. So these are some references, of the references that I used to prepare the slides. And okay, so we are now reached the end of part 1, yeah, of microplastic contamination in food. Okay. So I think back to you first, Dr. Yusnia. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a question from Prof. Indah in the chat box. Is it possible for microplastic and nanoplastic to reach and deposit in the alveoli within the human body? Micro and nanoplastic ingested through the food chain may undergo physicochemical changes. In this context, are there potential health effects predominantly driven by physical mechanism or by physicochemical interaction?
Alveoli, yeah. Okay. Okay, is it possible microplastic and nanoplastic to reach and deposited in the alveoli within the human body? Related to the food chain may undergo physical changes in this context. Are there potential health effects predominantly driven by physical mechanism or by psychochemicals interaction? Okay, so thank you, Prof. Enda, for the question. Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. Yeah, but what I can respond is that there are evidence here from previous studies that this microplastic deposited in the lung tissues. I think we can, my suggestion is that we might look into that publication, yeah, on how far that this microplastic can goes into the lung tissue. Okay, so for the mechanism, either physicochemical changes or physical mechanism, yeah. Okay, so I admit that that is beyond my knowledge, yeah, to answer which mechanism would explain that, yeah, Prof. But I think we can explore more, yeah, on what has been done by the previous scientists, the experts in especially the maybe respiratory systems, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much, Dr. Salisa. Ya, mungkin dari teman-teman mahasiswa ada yang mau ditanyakan. Ini topiknya menarik tentang mikroplastik yang ya menjadi perhatian kita bersama yang selalu viral gitu ya terkait dengan penggunaan plastik yang sangat-sangat masif. Silakan, mungkin ada yang mau bertanya bisa raise hand atau nulis di chat box. Mungkin kalau belum ada, saya mau nanya boleh ya?
Boleh,
Eh,
boleh.
Kalau di Malaysia, bagaimana peran pemerintah Malaysia untuk mengatur ya tentang penggunaan single use plastik?
Mm-mm. Dari peranan the authority the
Ya,
government of
ya,
Malaysia.
ya.
Okay. Sebentar ya Bu Yusnia, saya tengah nak balik ke. Okay. Okay. So responding to Dr. Yusnia question about the role of Malaysian authority in this issue of plastic. So here we have planned a policy on efforts to reduce plastic products and also the contamination of plastic into the environment. Okay, so this policy includes such as ban single-use plastic, but it has been carried out by negeri, by state. Yeah. So there are states like Malacca, which they totally ban single-use plastic bag. Okay, and there are also like UPM, we also ban the use of styrofoam as food packaging, food package container. So, but we still use plastic, the other type of plastic.
Yeah.
So this effort and campaign by the authority, it has been carried out, but the implementation is by stages. Yeah, so like I mentioned before, it is very difficult to change human behavior. So what we can do is that we perlahan-lahan beransur-ansur, we are trying little by little, change this part first, and then when everybody has increased their awareness so that we are no longer using single-use plastic, for example, and we have changed into more healthier behavior, such as we carried out our shopping bag. Yeah, and but that will need the participation of many parties, not just the public, not just the authority, but also the retailers, but also the manufacturer. When they are initiative for companies or manufacturer that venture into producing new product which is more green. Green product. For example, a replacement for styrofoam. Maybe they can produce food container which is more nature based. Yeah, but for that purpose, it might need some help from the government, such as maybe they will reduce the tax for introducing a new product, because we understand to produce new product, it might costly, it might increase the cost. So the non plastic based product might be more expensive, and that will become problem to the retailer. It will increase the goods they sell. Okay, so this effort, in on paper, the effort to maybe change or replace plastic-based product, it has a very long consequences in terms and I think we are moving into the right direction, but only that we have to be very patient, because the outcome might not be in a short term. Such that the introduction of plastic into environment, it took us about 1 year to 100 years, yeah, to realize the negative effect of plastic. So we might need another 100 years, yeah, to completely change the behavior or how we treat, or how we would like to replace plastic with other more natural-based product. Okay, Dr. Yus.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe you need some breaks to,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, some break
yeah,
before we can start with the next topic. Yes.
yeah. We need a break for stretching or maybe some snack
Oh yeah,
during this break.
I
Yeah,
might need to grab some water.
okay.
Okay.
Please, ya, silakan kita break dulu untuk stretching dan mungkin minum-minum dan sebagainya.
Ya.
Silakan ya.
Okay, jadi kita break lebih kurang berapa minit ya Dr. Yus?
Ya, silakan berapa mungkin
Mungkin
kira-kira.
kita boleh start, we can start 11:10 during my time. So 10 minutes.
Oke, ya. Ya, kita break dulu ya 10 menit untuk istirahat dulu, stretching, silakan. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Dr. Zaliza terputus lagi, sedang berusaha reconnect. Mungkin sebelum kita mulai lagi, saya simpulkan apa yang tadi sudah disampaikan, bahwa akibat dari penggunaan plastik, maka terjadi kontaminasi mikroplastik, nanoplastik itu di lingkungan. Sehingga akhirnya masuk ke rantai makanan, mencemari ikan-ikan yang kita konsumsi dan juga bahan pangan yang lain. Kemudian akibatnya kita mengkonsumsi mikroplastik itu setahun sekitar 1 kredit card ya. Bisa dibayangkan itu 1 kredit card itu masuk ke sistem pencernaan kita ya. Meskipun mungkin juga nggak cuma dari ingestion ya, tapi juga inhalation. Kemudian efeknya antara lain adalah kerusakan DNA, kerusakan seluler, inflamasi, yang mana bukti-bukti pada manusia itu masih terbatas, sehingga efeknya itu kebanyakan dari penelitian yang sebelumnya diperoleh dari uji di hewan percobaan ya, atau studinya kalau di ekosistem ya pada ikan-ikan, kerang, dan sebagainya. Salah satu bioindikator yang digunakan untuk pencemaran mikroplastik itu adalah kerang hijau. Nanti kalau mau neliti silahkan. Kemudian mikroplastik juga karier ya untuk bahan kimia yang bersifat endokrin disrupting chemical seperti bisphenol A, phthalate ya, dan yang lainnya. Kemudian ya, yang menjadi PR-nya adalah bagaimana mengubah perilaku manusia yang sangat-sangat tergantung plastik gitu ya, bisa mengurangi atau ya menghindari penggunaan plastik terutama yang sekali pakai. Mungkin seperti itu. Ada dari teman-teman yang akan bertanya, silakan bisa ditulis di chat box-nya atau bisa resend juga. Silakan. Iya, bagaimana mungkin kalau pengen penelitian ya, penelitian tentang mikroplastik di ikan ya, sebagaimana yang sudah dilakukan di Malaysia, di beberapa jenis ikan itu terbukti mengandung mikroplastik. Antara lain yang tinggi tadi, kalau nggak salah lele ya, lele Afrika, African catfish, itu dari hasil penelitian itu tinggi kandungan mikroplastiknya. Nanti bisa dibandingkan di Indonesia seperti apa. Iya, biasanya digunakan FTIR ya alatnya. Ada beberapa lab yang sudah bisa menguji kadar mikroplastik di air minum maupun di bahan makanan seperti ikan dan sebagainya. Antara lain ada lab ALS ya, kalau nggak salah itu di Bogor. Cuma ya mungkin biayanya mahal. Jadi mungkin nanti bisa kerjasama dengan dosen, penelitian dosen kalau tertarik untuk meneliti mikroplastik. Nah, kita tunggu Dr. Zalisa apakah sudah join? Oke. Ya, Dr. Zalisa ini ada pertanyaan. Ada satu pertanyaan.
Okey. Terima kasih kepada yang bertanya.
Mima,
Yeah.
Mima, ya.
Talenta Yemima. Okay. So the question is that it's not because it's not about the individual behavioral changes, yeah. It is about the technical or systemic challenge in remediating or cleaning up microplastics that have already entered the food chain, such as in agricultural soil or marine sediment? Okay, so yes, this is a good question. Yeah, what can we do to remediate or to clean up, yeah, microplastic that has been entered our soil or any pathway in the food chain? Okay, so I think for remedial, for removing of microplastic, yeah, uh, it needs some engineering expert in how to clean up or to purify the soil. Yeah, so we know that plastic can sit in the environment for very long time. Okay, so I think this need experts in engineering, yeah, in how they can treat or purify back the soil. But I think instead of we would like to purify back the soil, yeah, we need to in short term action, yeah, we need to move away from that contaminated site. Yeah, and it is for the treatment of the contaminated soil. Yes, it needs some expert in engineering, yeah, to explore on that. Yeah. I have no suggestion on how the method, but I think it needs some expertise in the engineering part.
Yeah.
Okay, and for the practical action, I would say it is better to us to, yes, move from that contaminated site. That's the best, yeah, if we can afford to do that. But yeah, for the cases that um it will it will affect the whole site, yeah. So we have to think seriously on how to um yeah, to tackle that problem. Okay, so I think that's my question for now. That's my answer for the question for now.
Thank you, Dr. Salisa.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's move to the second topic, please.
Okay,
There's another question.
Okay, from Mahani. Konsumsi ikan secara rutin masih aman di negara-negara dengan tingkat pencemaran laut tinggi seperti Indonesia. Ikan dikenal sebagai sumber protein bagus dan banyak direkomendasikan oleh para ahli gizi. Salah satu penghasil ikan terbesar di dunia. Okey, akan tetapi kondisi saat ini menunjukkan bahawa banyak jumlah ikan yang tercemar mikroplastik dan logam berat. Okey. Apakah konsumsi ikan secara rutin masih aman? Baik. Yeah, this is another good question, yeah. When we are being fed with the information about the contamination to our food chain, should we stop consuming our food source, which is a good food source for protein, yeah, such as our fish, yeah. Okay, so the recommendation by researchers who have done this kind of research is that to look at your local recommendation or local information about the level of contamination to that local source. Okay, for such example, for example, for the study which I've involved in Malaysia about the types of fish that have been contaminated with microplastic and heavy metals, it shows that there are some types, the certain types of fish which has been contaminated. Yeah, and from that level of contamination, we estimate what would be the safe consumption level for that kind of fish. For now, yes, we detected some types of common consumed fish, yeah, in Malaysian market being contaminated with these pollutants, and we come out with some dietary recommendation, meaning that consumers should avoid certain type of fish to be consumed frequently. If we consume it, for example, once a week, this portion, for example, yeah, this portion, one serving size portion a week, it's still safe. It's still under the hazardous. It's still under the recommendation consumption rate. But we also have to support our dietary with other foods, such as those and a high antioxidant content food, yeah, to balance those contamination, yeah, so that hopefully that with the consumption of enough fiber or enough vitamins, so that it will help in excreting, yeah, those pollutants from the body, hopefully. So the recommendation would be, do not stop consuming high protein or nutritious food supply, but we have to know what would be the level recommended by the local authority, if such information available. Yeah.
Yeah, next question from Arum.
Okay, there's another question, yeah.
Yeah.
As well, microplastic can accumulate in green matter consumed by humans. Can common cooking methods such as boiling or frying effectively remove microplastic from green muscle? If not, are there any alternative method that can reduce or eliminate microplastic contamination before consumption? Okay, this Arum Melati, yeah, I think you are a fan of mussels. Okay, so if we know the food source that we are going to consume being contaminated, the best way is to avoid it. Yeah, so I still believe that the contaminated food source is not not all our food source being contaminated. It might come from some area, certain area that we maybe know or detected that they come from a contaminated area. One tips would be, if the price is amazingly low as compared to the common market. Yeah, so we should worry, we should question why this wood being sold very cheap. Yeah, so we have to have a thought. Yeah, we have to be skeptical about it. So it might an indicator of, yeah, something wrong with the food source. Okay, so I think if for in the case of microplastic contamination, yeah.
Okay.
So as we discussed, those microplastic mainly detected in the GI tract, meaning the part that we do not consume. But yeah, I wonder how we consume green mussel. Yeah, do we remove their stomach like the fish? We remove their stomach and gill and those non-edible part, which microplastic mostly found in that part of the body. But in green mussel, if my recommendation would be, if we know it is contaminated, do not consume it. Yeah, look for other alternative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That will help. Right. So I think we finish for now for
Yeah.
question and answer. maybe we can proceed with our second topic of lecture. Okay, so heavy metals. Okay, so our second part of this lecture would be heavy metal contamination in food and the health effects. So as I mentioned during the early introduction of this lecture, I'm going to focus into four major toxic and heavy metal, previously found by various studies, which significantly the most toxic heavy metals, to human being. And this would be the outline, and we are also will discuss on pathways of those food contamination from heavy metals, the mechanism of toxicity, health effects, who are the vulnerable population, and also prevention and control. Okay. Right. Okay, so as the introduction, heavy metals are natural occurring elements, in the environment. We cannot blame them for being in the environment because it is naturally occurred. And okay, so heavy metals are naturally occurring elements with high density that can be toxic even at low concentration. Some heavy metals, they are not supposed to be consumed. They are not supposed to be in the environment at the first place. But they exist anyway. And some metals are essential. For example, we need those trace metal, or kita panggil zat galian. Some metals are essential, such as iron, such as zinc. But even those essential metals are toxic at high levels. Okay, so these are the micronutrients that we need for very minute quantity. Others are non-essential and toxic, such as lead, mercury, arsenic, and cadmium. So these are the four most toxic heavy metals, which have no known benefits, to our body. Okay. So why are they dangerous? Because these toxic chemicals, they persist in the environment. Once they are introduced into the environment, they can stay long in the environment. So this is the common characteristics that all pollutants have in relation to the existence in the environment. They persist and they are quite difficult to be removed. They bioaccumulate in organism, so they can enter our body and stay there. And from time to time, when it accumulates into one limit, they will manifest the effects, the health effects to the body. Okay, and also they can biomagnify in food chains, especially seafood. Biomagnify meaning that once it's been consumed by organism, the concentration will increase. So imagine this big fish, this predator fish, if they consume many levels of fish, smaller fish, which contaminated with this heavy metal, the concentration will be accumulated in this big fish. Yeah, so what happened when we consume this big fish, this predator fish, we will get the most highest level of heavy metals in our body from food consumption. Okay, so these are the major toxic heavy metals in food: lead, mercury, arsenic, and cadmium. And there are also established publication which shows the toxicity and the health effects of these heavy metals. Not like microplastic, which is considered later toxicant, where information about its hazardous effect to human is still limited. But for these four most toxic heavy metals, the references for the health effects of its toxication is quite prevalent, quite established. So I believe if we search for information for this four heavy metals toxicity, we can easily get those information. Yeah. Okay, such as lead, for example. Yeah. Okay, so lead the information before related to our environment, where we can find lead, especially in leaded paint, or previously we have leaded petrol, and it might also be in our food source, such as traditional medicine, contain lead. Okay, mercury, for example, nowadays, it has been reports that mercury can be found in dietary supplementation, diet for dieting, for lose weight supplementation. Okay, it can also found in whitening skincare, mercury, and also yes, from fish, from our fish also. Arsenic is basically related to natural sources. Some region in the world, they have a natural arsenic, in their water, underground water. So they are being exposed to this arsenic poisoning, by exposure to the natural arsenic. And cadmium, basically, it can be found in pesticide or industrial waste, and the pathway that it entered, that it can reach human, is from pollution, from the industrial effluents, which polluted the soil, and later the water, the soil, and later the food source. Okay, so these are the major toxic heavy metals in history. Okay, so we go first with lead. Okay, ataupun pelambang, lead. Okay, so what kind of food that we can find lead in it, is such as contaminated soil, which produce vegetables, and grain. So when these vegetables or grains, being growth or being produced in contaminated soil, so they will become polluted with this kind of heavy metals. Water, so we have issues previously, those who still using oil pipelines, which made from lead, and this lead leach into the water supply. So the water become polluted with lead. Yeah, and this how lead enter the human body. And also food processing contamination, cross-contamination, or materials that use in food processing containing lead. Yeah, for example, maybe the cookware, yeah, maybe the utensils, or maybe the the container that being used in the food preparation or during cross-contamination. Yeah, so that is the pathway that lead can enter our food source and later in human body. Okay, what would be the health effect for health effects of lead toxicity? Yeah, so if human being exposed to lead contamination, yeah, in high level, yeah, so it can cause neurotoxicity, especially if the children is the one being exposed, yeah. So it can affect their neuro system, yeah. So it can slower their cognitive development and performance, yeah. It can reduce the IQ due to those neurotoxicity, yeah. It can also damage the kidney, yeah. Abundance burden to the kidney due to lead contamination. It can also cause anemia, yeah, because the competition of the place for hemoglobin, yeah, with lead, yeah, both have to charge to 12. So okay, so they are competing. When they are lead in our body system, it will competing with the hemoglobin, with the iron, with the iron. So if the lead stronger, so it will take the place of the iron. So that's when a person can be anemic, yeah, because the iron has been replaced by lead. Okay. Long-term health effects. It can damage the brain and nervous system. Yeah. Okay. So that is what lead or heavy metal can do to our health if we get poisoning. Okay. Okay, next would be mercury. Yeah, so mercury, it can exist in three types, yeah. Elemental mercury, inorganic mercury, and organic mercury. And the most toxic would be the organic mercury, which we call methyl mercury. Okay, so methyl mercury toxicity, yeah, in history, it carved the history of the understanding of very severe mercury toxicity. Yeah, if you know the Minamata disease, yeah, in Japan, it happened during the 50s. Mercury toxicity, yeah, contamination occurred due to pollution from industry, which contain this methyl mercury, and the effects, yeah, can be seen until nowadays. Yeah, so there are an area in the Minamata Bay, yeah, which for the purpose of study, they do not consume, they control the perimeter of that Minamata Bay, yeah, because they would like to study the the inhabitants of that bay, yeah. So people say that if you go to that site, you can see the fish, yeah, you can see the all the organism there, but you cannot consume it because it is still polluted with methyl mercury, and they are there. The authority are observing them, yeah, for study of the long term effect. Okay, So sources of food that are being reported contaminated with mercury are fish and seafood, yeah, especially large predatory fish like tuna. Remember the bioaccumulation and biomagnification effect that I've explained previously. Yeah. Okay, and then contaminated water bodies, either river, yeah, or sea, such as the Minamata Bay, yeah, which being very famous with Minamata disease incident. Okay, so the health effects, again, it has effects. It will affect the nervous system. Yeah, the nervous system will damage. If you see this picture, this is picture of the victims of Minamata disease in Japan. Yeah, these are the offspring of community who consume contaminated fish. Yeah, the mother consume contaminated fish. Yeah, with mercury. The mother seems healthy, but the newborn, but the offspring, the children, was born defect, deformed, yeah, and it's a permanent disability. Yeah. Okay. So look at the hand. Yeah. The nervous system. Yeah. Fail. Yeah. The memory loss. Yeah. They are permanent disability. Yeah. If you would like to know more about this Minamata disease, just Google it, and it is a very tragic, yeah, history of contamination. Yeah. Okay, developmental defects in fetus, yeah, even the bad effect happen as early as fetal development stage. Yeah. Sensory and motor impairment. Okay. Another history about mercury toxication is that, remember, do you know this movie character? Yeah, Hatter. Yeah, in Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, so this character is actually based on true event. Yeah, the hatter, those who make hat in Western, yeah, in London, if I'm not mistaken, they process the hat, the skin of the animal, with mercury, so they become contaminated. They become poisoned, yeah, with those mercury, and they become delusional, crazy, very pale complexion, yeah, and they have crazy behavior. Yeah, that's because the sensory and motor impairment, yeah, happen to them, and also the nervous system being disturbed, yeah, because of the mercury that they use in processing the animal skin to be processed and made into hatch. Okay, so basically this character was based on true event. Yeah? Okay. Okay, next would be arsenic. Okay, so arsenic, yeah, source in the food, there's been reported, yeah, that rice and rice-based products being contaminated with arsenic due to contaminated groundwater where the rice being planted, yeah, and also can be from pesticides and agricultural chemical used in the area. Okay, so they polluted the underground water or the water, and this would be how it looks, yeah, when somebody, yeah, some person being severely, yeah, contaminated with arsenic. Yeah, this is the effect of arsenic poisoning. Okay, so skin lesion and pigmentation changes. Okay, pigmentation, okay, cardiovascular disease can also affect the cardiovascular uh, um, system, yeah, and cause disease. It also can cause diabetes and carcinogenic, yeah, in terms of skin cancer, lung, and bladder. Okay, so that would be the effect of arsenic. And I mentioned before, in some region, of the world, such as in Bangladesh, they are being exposed to natural arsenic poisoning, natural arsenic, because they have high concentration of arsenic in their groundwater level. So they use those water, for drinking, for human activity, well water, so it's deep down underground. But unluckily, unfortunately, those natural groundwater was contaminated with natural arsenic, which is toxic. Okay, and lastly, cadmium. Okay, so cadmium sources of food, again, cereal, leafy vegetables, and shellfish, is due to soil contamination, and this soil being contaminated from agriculture activity, mainly the fertilizer use, which contain cadmium, when the limit exceeded the recommended value, so it will pollute the water and soil of that region, and when they are crops being planted there, so these heavy metals will be absorbed into the food source. Okay, so the health effects, kidney damage again, because the body being burdened with the unwanted mineral in the body. Bone demineralization, it causes osteoporosis, the bone become brittle, due to cadmium. Again, they are competing with the calcium, so they replace the calcium, so when there are no more calcium, the bone formation will become weak, and they develop osteoporosis. Lung damage, this is due to inhalation of the air, being contaminated with cadmium. Okay, and also carcinogenic. Okay, so most of these heavy metals can cause cancer, and it may affect different organs, depends on what type or how, the heavy metal enter the body and where it deposited in the body. Okay, so this picture is from again, it's from Japan. If you ever heard about itai disease, itai means pain, sakit, so every time the victim which has been contaminated, with cadmium, when they touch the body, they feel pain and they say itai. So itai is a Japanese name for pain. Okay. So this is how it looks when somebody had bone demineralization. So the bone development being defected. So they become crouched like this. And this is permanent disability. The damage has been done, cannot be reversed. Okay, so the pathway of food contamination, there are 4 main pathway, namely the environmental pollution, meaning the environment being polluted, agricultural practice, unmanageable waste from the agriculture, pollute the environment, food processing and packaging, so some metal equipment or the equipment used in the food processing might be the source of contamination of this heavy metal into the food they are processing. And also natural occurrence such as arsenic, underground arsenic, I mentioned before. Okay, so in environmental pollution, it can be from the industry, it can be from mining, yeah, and it can be from fossil fuel combustion, such as our exhaust from vehicles, yeah, which use fossil fuel, yeah. Apa tu? It release this heavy metal pollution, yeah. Agriculture, it is related with the fertilizers and the pesticide use. What would be the active ingredient used in the fertilizer and pesticide? Yeah, and it is also related with how the irrigation, yeah, in that area, yeah, and whether it is being contaminating the water, yeah. Okay, so food processing, it might related with the type of metal used. Yeah, for example, maybe it leach out the heavy metals from those tools. Yeah, and also storage containers. Yeah, where they store the food. Yeah, and will there be cross contamination or leaching of chemicals? Yeah, due to a reaction, chemical reaction with the food they're processing. Okay, and natural occurrence such as geological deposits in soil and water, like the arsenic example which I mentioned before. Okay, so what happened is that, yeah, the crops will absorb metals either from the soil or the water, yeah, or even the fertilizer itself, yeah, can be the source of contamination. Okay, so the crop absorb the metals and then animals eat the plants, yeah, and then the contamination, the continuation of the pollutants in the animal, and then human consume both, yeah. We consume crops, we also consume animals, so we have double exposure from our food. Okay, and then they involve the bioaccumulation process, yeah. They accumulate from time to time, it accumulate in our body, yeah, and biomagnification, yeah. The increase of concentration once the food entered the next level of in the food chain. Okay, right. So mechanism of toxicity. Okay, mechanism of toxicity. Heavy metals can damage the body mainly through oxidative stress, the first one, yeah. And it also can damage the body through enzyme inhibition or cellular damage, and also carcinogenesis, yeah, how the carcinogen develop, yeah. Okay, so in oxidative stress, yeah, it involves the production of reactive oxygen species or ROS, yeah, and it also involves damage to the DNA, the lipids and proteins, yeah. So it leads to the oxidative stress, yeah, because it is related with this processes, yeah. In enzyme inhibition, yeah. So this heavy metal disturb, yeah, the enzymatic processes, yeah, such as it binds to sulfhydryl groups, yeah, and it disrupts enzyme function. Okay, through cellular damage, yeah. So when this heavy metal exists or present in the body in a cellular environment, it impact the protein synthesis and it causes the cell death, yeah, or we call it apoptosis. And lastly, heavy metal can damage the body through carcinogenesis, where the DNA being mutated, yeah, and that is the start of the cancer development. Yeah? Okay, so these are the mechanism, yeah, of toxicity that these heavy metals can bring to our body. Okay, so what are the health effects on humans due to exposure to these heavy metals? Eh? There are two types of effects, acute effects and also chronic effects. Acute effects, which occur short term, yeah, after exposure, or being exposed to very high level concentration of heavy metal. So acute effects such as nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, neurological symptoms. Okay, so for those toxic heavy metals, it might show the same symptom. So which heavy metal cause the disease or the symptom? So we need to do further analysis here to identify which type of heavy metals cause the problem. Okay, in terms of chronic effects, this is for the case of more common happen when it involves food exposure. Yeah? Chronic effects, it can cause organ damage, yeah, such as kidney and liver, yeah, due to long-term exposure, yeah, maybe small quantity but long-term exposure, long-term intake of this heavy metal. So it damaged the organ, especially kidney and liver, yeah. These two main organs which filter the toxin out from the body. Yeah, so when they being burdened by the task of filtering toxic from the body, so when they are so much toxic that they need to filter, so this organ will become exhausted earlier. Okay. Neurological orders, disease related with the neurological, yeah, our neuron system. Hormonal disruption. Okay, so some heavy metal, they can mimic the function of hormone, yeah. They can replace the good mineral in the body. So, and then they disrupt the function of those body function. Yeah, and development delays in children. Yeah, this is especially children who are in the process of developing. Yeah, so their system is very vulnerable. They absorb almost everything from the environment, including the heavy metals and toxic pollutants, yeah, and cancer. Okay. So these are chronic effects, and also the as comparison to the acute effects. Okay, the vulnerable population here. So this population, they are more prone to get the health effect due to exposure to heavy metal. Yeah, infants and children. This is because their brain development, their organ, their brain, their all organ, the body is still in the development process. So it's more easy for them to get the risk of contamination. Pregnant women, especially fetal exposure, yeah, during pregnant women, if pregnant women being exposed to the toxicant, the effect will go more adversely to the baby in the womb, yeah, they carry, yeah. Okay, elderly, we understand why elderly is one of the vulnerable group, because as opposed to the infant and children, yeah, the elderly system, they are failing, yeah, they are become slower, and they lack ability, yeah, to to protect themselves, yeah, in terms of the ability of the immune system, yeah, and how the body function, yeah, because they are exhausted already, yeah. And the populations with high seafood and rice consumption, because especially for these four most toxic pollutants, yeah, the exposure, the food sources that being detected, contaminated with these heavy metals are seafood and rice consumption. So those population who strongly depending on this type of food, so they have the higher risk to be exposed to the toxicity. Okay, example of high risk food. For mercury, large fish, yes, such as tuna, swordfish, yeah, the predator fish, yeah. Okay, so this involve the biomagnification explanation, yeah. Arsenic related with rice or rice cereal because it is related with the water source, and also the soil contamination. Cadmium, about the same, yes, cereals, vegetables, shellfish, yeah, because it is related with the water contamination, yeah, and also soil, yeah. Okay, for lead, root vegetables, contaminated water, yeah, would be why, yeah, lead can be found from these rooted type vegetables. Okay. And from the view of public health significance, yeah, heavy metals are a global food safety concern, yeah, and it long-term exposure occurs mostly through daily diet, yeah. And for these heavy metals, yeah, toxic heavy metals, even low levels can accumulate over time, and it will sooner or later will cause effects to the health. And these are all associated with increased cancer risk, yeah, and chronic diseases and reduced population. Yeah. Okay. So this is the message on the public health significance. Yeah? Why heavy metals toxicity is a big concern in public health. Okay, so how to prevent and control heavy metal contamination? Okay, at individual level, we might not have much choice for what we can eat, yeah. But if we have, yeah, hopefully we have that choice, yeah, we have to diversify diet, yeah, meaning that we do not only depends on certain type of food only. We do not just depend on fish for protein. We should diversify if we can, yeah. For protein, try in a week we can have different type of fish. We can have maybe meat, yeah. We can have plant-based protein, yeah. And to verify our diet, yeah, so that if it happened, our food source be contaminated with certain heavy metals, we might not have the high exposure at one time, yeah. And also some food, yeah, it might be a factor for flushing out of those toxic from the body, yeah. Limit high-risk foods, for example, large fish, yeah. Wash and prepare food properly, yeah. So this involved with the hygiene practice of food preparation. Okay, so at regulatory level, the authority level, yeah. Food safety monitoring, meaning continuous food safety monitoring, like the authorities, our Ministry of Health do the food safety monitoring on the food available in the market. Yeah, limits on contaminants. Okay, according to WHO or FAO standards. Yeah, for heavy metals in food. Yeah, I believe Indonesia also have their food safety standard. Like in Malaysia, we have Food Act and Food Laboratory. So the authority will concurrently and continuously monitor, yeah, the level of those pollutant, yeah, to check whether they exceed the limit, yeah, the food available in the market, whether they are safe for consumption. Okay, so they do this frequently, yeah. Control of industrial emission, yeah, because most of the pollution it came from unmanageable industrial emission and effluent, yeah. So it must be effort or standard or regulatory, yeah, to control the industrial emission from polluting the environment. Okay. So lastly, at agricultural level, okay, those who are working in the agriculture sector, yeah, so they have to look into the safe irrigation practice effort, yeah, and they also should reduce use of contaminated fertilizers, meaning they have to choose the safe fertilizer, yeah, for being used in their farm, yeah, so that the food sources that they produce are in the safe standard, yeah, for public consumption. Okay. Okay. So the key gateways for this topic is that heavy metals like lead, mercury, arsenic, and cadmium are the most concerning in food, yeah, because they are very toxic. They accumulate in the body and cause long-term health damage, yeah, chronic effect. Yeah. Main risks include neurological damage, organ toxicity, and cancer. And prevention requires multi-level control. Yeah. So it needs involvement at individual level. It need involvement in policy maker level, yeah, and also the environment, yeah, level. Okay, so thank you for your attention for this topic of food contamination, yeah, or food contaminants. We have go through, yeah, in more than 2 hours, time, looking into topic of microplastics and heavy metals, contamination to food, and the health effects. Okay, so with that, thank you. That's all for this lecture.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Salisa, for such an inspirational and insightful materials. Student, do you have any question? You may raise your hand or write your answer, your question in chat box. In your slide, you mentioned that one of the risky food is rice.
Yes, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
What about the level of arsenic in rice in Malaysia? Is there any studies about it?
Yeah. In Malaysia, I've involved in studies analyzing the pesticide residue in rice. Okay, so fortunately, the level from the area that we studied within the safe guideline. So meaning that they are exposure of pesticide residue, but the exposure level is still low, and it might not pose health risk within the time that been given. So meaning that we have been exposed, yeah, because we are using pesticide in in our agriculture system, yeah, but the study that we have done, the level is still safe, yeah, for consumption. Okay. So that's why in one of my slides is that we might not have control over what we can afford to have in from our environment, yeah, but we may need but we may be more aware with our food sources, yeah. So it is our responsibility first, because it is our health, it's concerning our health. The authority might have some plan, but it might not reach us directly. So it is our responsibility to take care of ourselves. So if there is any information that we can get about the contamination level or about the safety of our food, so please get that information and make your choice, yeah, to consume which type of food safe enough for us to consume. And also for us to get balanced diet, yeah. So when we have protein, we might suspect that we have some level of contamination. So we try to balance it with other healthy food or antioxidant food, for example, or rich fiber food, so that hopefully we can flush out, if we can, those toxic that we consume from our diet. Yeah, that's
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. One question from Nisa Ratna.
From Miss Saratna. Ya. Apakah saat ini terdapat metod yang terbukti efektif untuk menurunkan kandungan logam berat pada tanah maupun air yang telah terkontaminasi berat? Okey, kalau macam the same answer with the microplastic contamination, they might have methods to purify the water. But we also have to look at the cost and the effectiveness, the cost effective factor. So that for this area, I think we need to find an expert from the engineering part or agricultural sector on how to rawat, to treat the soil. I know there are studies on how on the effort of trying to purify sludge soil, to make it good enough for agriculture. Yeah, but I'm not sure whether that effort being practiced widely. Yeah. So that is one. So my answer would be, if we know that soil is contaminated, try avoid to consume the produce from that soil if we have that choice. Okay, because there might be method, but we have to also look into the cost-effective side of it. Okay.
Thank you very much for the answer. Any question? Is there any question? Okay, I think it's enough.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Quite clear and comprehensive for about what you have delivered to us. Alhamdulillah. Please give us applause to Dr. Salisa. Applause. Thank you very much. I think our session is complete. We could finish our Zoom meeting. See you in the next occasion. I'm sorry if there is inconvenience from as a moderator. And also we with you to see us, to visit us in Undip.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for that opportunity. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Salisa. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Okay.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and thank you again.
Yeah. Bye bye. See you. Izin live.